to create this video to help those of you who are kind of not sure where to start for your table tent and maybe had some questions about the specifications. So hopefully this will kind of, help you along here. The first thing I wanted to do, let me go to module 3 here, is, and I posted this to announcements too, make sure that you're watching this second video here, setting up your table tent. It's about 5 minutes long, and it really goes through some explanation of how to start your setup for your InDesign template. And she explains in there too that you are only going to be doing a one-sided table tent because whatever's going to be designed on that one side will be repeated on the other side. So you don't have to do 2 pages, just one side. And then the size of your table tent is really up to you. There's no specification saying you have to have it at, so-and-so size, but, keep it at an appropriate size. I wouldn't go, extremely large because, think about you're sitting at a table, and if you had something that was huge in somebody's face on a table as far as sitting on top of a table, it's going to be kind of obtrusive and not really, something that blends in well to just sitting there and seeing it on the table. Excuse me. So make sure it's within an appropriate size. So definitely check this out first. And again, that was posted in announcements as well by myself. Let me go back to modules because I want to show you one other thing. I've had some questions from some of you in regards, I'm going to go to module 1, in regards to the logo. So what you're going to do is go to module 1 and then go ahead and click on 1-3 journal, client choice. You're going to want to make sure that you download the whatever brand style guide that you are doing for your project. So go ahead and download that on your desktop, and then so that'll be there. And then when you're done, just close out of there. Then click on brand logo, and this will give you access to the actual native Illustrator logo file, and it should open it up in Illustrator so that you can just go ahead and grab whichever logo that you need. Now these are all outline fonts. That means they're no longer, you're not seeing it as a font, it's a shape now. That's why you see those, those anchor points in there, and that's to allow you to view it on your screen without having to link it to any type of typeface. So you don't have to worry about having the typeface for this logo in order to view it. Now because of that, you can't change the type in there. You can't, you can change the color. I wouldn't do that. But you can't use the type tool and modify the name or anything, which you really shouldn't do anyway. Think of it as a client giving this logo to you, and they want you to keep the brand the same as what they have in the brand manual. The brand manual is basically telling you what you can do and what you can and cannot do with the logo itself. Keep great brand consistency. So you can see here, Pasta Amore, if you're doing that, it looks different than what they have here because it's on a darker background. So if you wanted to use this logo on a dark background and have it viewable, you're going to have to, I would say, make this all white. And how you can do that is go ahead and do an artboard. If you go Window, Artboard, you can duplicate the second artboard is where the Pasta Amore one is. Go ahead, you can drag it down and drop it over this little icon to duplicate it, or you can click on the upper right hand corner and say just duplicate artboard, and it should duplicate this one. Now it might be over here depending on how you have yours arranged. Now all you need to do is select your type. You might have to ungroup this. Go up to Object, Ungroup. Select each part of your type. I would do that first. Double click on your fill and change it to white. Now you're not going to be able to see it on here because obviously there's a white background, and that's fine. Oops, Just as long as you know, I just did my layers here, hold on. Just as long as you know that that is white, you should be good to go. And then change all this to white here. And I'm just pulling this slider up the very top. It should be 000 CMYK, 255, 255, 255 for RGB. Okay, so if you take your selection tool and just run over it, you'll see it's there, it's just in white. Now, the next step that you have to do, and this is for any type of case where you're going to be importing your logo into your InDesign file, is you have to export it out. So this is an important step. So if you're not doing town, you might want to just eliminate this board. You can hit that art board and just hit delete. Now you might have to delete the actual logo as well. If you want to rearrange your artboard, so this isn't kind of laid out in such a way, go ahead and hit rearrange artboard, and you can change this to vertical or whatever, so you can see it kind of vertically here. When you're ready to export, go ahead and go. You might as well save this as a final logo anyway, because you changed it. So you can do final logo. Okay, so it's still an AI file. And then you want to go up to File, and you want to hit Export, and export as a ping. You want ping to be chosen here. Okay. The reason why we're choosing ping is because you can import your logos without having this big white block back here. Okay. So all you need to do is check on use artboards, and you can export both logos if you want. If you hit all, it'll export both of them. So go ahead and do export. The only option here that I want you to pay attention to is that it's at high resolution, pixels per inch 300, and then down here make sure transparent is selected. That'll make sure that your background is transparent. Click OK, and it'll download it either on your, it's on my desktop right now. You can just saw it on the right hand side here. So go ahead and put that in the folder that you're working on. So now you can use that logo in white as well as in color. You can also switch it up so you can use this different orientation. Let me save this PDF to my desktop here real quick. So I want to see if I can access this orientation, different orientation here. Okay, it's already saved, good. I'm going to go back and open up Illustrator, and I'm going to open up this PDF. So File, Open. Sometimes you can access the typeface or the actual logos in here. Click OK. I'm just opening up that one page with a different orientation. Yeah, you can. Okay. So if you open up that PDF file in Illustrator, you're able to actually access this orientated logo as well. You just have to do a shift select. It might be a little bit more work here. Let me see if I can, maybe not. Let me see if I can do it. Oh, you might not be able to access it. Yeah, it might be in the background here. Okay, well, forget what I just said there. There's certain, I'm not sure if it's just this logo. You can access certain parts of the logo here, but you can't access all of the letters. So if you wanted to do it in a horizontal variation, what you might want to do is go up and do, oh, not that, go up to artboard again. Go ahead and copy the second artboard. And very, very carefully, you'll want to ungroup this third option here. And it looks like in the brand manual, it looks like it's the same size as the ascender and the descenders, or the baseline. So you'll want to select just pasta and double click on your scale tool. This is a little bit more work than, you know, it should be provided to you guys. I'm not quite sure why they don't just give you the horizontal variation. So you have to do a little bit more work for this. But just kind of align it. You can go up to View, Show Rulers, and then pull down some guides so that you can see that you have this perfectly aligned. I'm just pulling from the actual ruler. And that looks pretty close. So you can zoom in a little bit more to get the details. Looks like my guide's a little off here. I'm just unlocking it so I can move it again to be perfectly spot on. Okay, so it looks like I just have to go down a little bit. So that's kind of what you'll need to do, is just kind of get this, and I'm holding the shift key down. Make sure you're holding the shift key or using that scale method that I just showed you, making your letters bigger, or else you might have some distortion in the logo itself. Okay, so we'll do like a 90.5. We'll see if that uniform is good. Oh, I meant to do something else. 100.5. Get a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks good. And then let's see how they put it in the gap there. It looks like it's touching. Okay, so that looks good. So this would be your horizontal variation, and then what I would do is just delete your margins there and just center this. I know it's a lot of information, but there you go. So that would be the third option. So you would save it. Go ahead and go up to File, Export, because I missed this one, and we'll save this as the horizontal. And I'm going to do just the third artboard. And I'm exporting it again as a ping file. So I should have 3 ping files to choose from if I want to show each of those. Okay, the next thing I'll do is open up my InDesign, and again, you can change your art workspace up here. So if you wanted to do what she was stating in the first video, you can go to Typography. I'm going to reset that so it cleans up my workspace. Go to File, New. Check before you do that. Go to Adobe Preferences, go to Units and Increments, and make sure you have your ruler units set to inches for horizontal and vertical. And then go File, New, Document. And she explains all this also in the video. Just uncheck facing pages. We don't need that. Number of pages is just 1. It's up to you what you want to do for your width. I'm going to do 4 by 6 inches, and then my margins are 1/2 inch. Okay, so you can see my guides are here, 1/2 inch around. You can always change that. If you wanted to go up to change that, you go to Layout, Margins and Columns. You can make them smaller, you can make them bigger. I wouldn't go any more than 1/2. I think that's pretty good. That's just so you know that type's not going to get trimmed off or too close to the edge. So I wanted to show you how to import those the logos into InDesign. So you're going to take the rectangle frame tool. It looks like a little X in a square tool. Go ahead and click and drag just a box over. It doesn't matter how big it is, as long as it's a box. And then the shortcut command is Command D if you're on a Mac to File Place. So either Command D or File Place. And then you're going to find that logo that you want. And mine's on my desktop, so I just saved these. See the logo as ping files. That's this is the white one, so you can't see it. These are the logos that I saved out. So I'm going to hit open. And when you place it, it's going to place it as the size that you created it in. So it might be larger. So what you'll want to do with it selected, go up to Object, Fitting. You can fill frame proportionately, but it might not show all of your logo. So go up to Object, Fitting, Fit Content Proportionally. If that's a little too small, just go ahead and double click inside so that your box turns red. And up here on your panel, see these numbers? It's like a right arrow and a down arrow. Those are your scale percentages. These should be equal. If they're not equal, you're showing distortion of your logo or your image. So right now it says 35. Let's make that 55. And I'm going to click on that link so that it's proportionate. So look how it got bigger. And then I'm going to go back up to Object, Fitting, Center Content. And then click off. So this is just your bounding box. This blue box is just, you can kind of move your logo around. And but if you double click in there, you can actually move just the logo in the actual blue frame. So we want to make sure it's centered. We're going to do centered. So that's the logo. Now, one thing I want you to pay attention to is, let me do a color box. I'm going to take a rectangle shape and I'm going to throw in a color. So I'm going to go to my swatches, which I don't see up there. So I'm going to go Window, and I'm going to go to Color and Swatches, and then I'm going to choose just black. And then I want to make sure the black background goes behind the logo. So I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And now I can see it's almost like acting like layers. So, you know, anything you put on top, it's going to cover it. So that's why I said Send to Back. So now you can see there's no weird white box behind there. So, you know, hopefully you guys, you know, won't have that as well. You know, obviously doing the ping file is what you need to do. Again, you could do another box. I want to show you how to import Command D, File Place again for the other one. Object Fitting, Fit Frame, there you go. There's the horizontal variation. So if you wanted to use this one, if you're using this client choice, you can use this one. Or, and it really depends on the background. You know, if you're going to use a darker background, it might be better to have the white variation here. Oops. There you go. Double click if you want to make it bigger. Let's do 55 and 55, Object Fitting, Center Content. Okay. So that's how you would place those in there. These are all just blue guides. So if you want to see it, how it would look to print, just go ahead at the very bottom of your toolbox and hit Preview, and it'll show you kind of without all the lines. Okay, another thing I wanted to show you is you can use a pattern on the background that matches your brand identity. Pixabay.com is a great website to find really cool images, textures for free that you can use that are high res. So let's say you're going to use wood, like a cutting board maybe for the back of this. Go ahead and put your keyword in there, cutting board. And look for maybe the texture here. That's a good one. For maybe the table tent in the background. You know, it's completely up to you on how you want to do this. Just make sure that whatever you choose for your table tent it's going to have to be cohesive with your other pieces. So you're gonna want to use something that you know that you're going to be kind of using going forward. I'm going to put texture because I want something that fits in that area, and cutting board. Okay, this looks pretty cool. So I'm going to download this one. You might have to type in these words. And then save it, export it out. And I'm going to do a JPEG. Now, a good thing to do is take that into Photoshop, save it as a TIFF before you place it in here. But you can also place it in here, you know, just as a JPEG as well, but just kind of an FYI. So I'm going to take my frame tool and kind of create another rectangle frame tool at the trim edge. You can also do bleeds. I don't have this set up for bleeds. If I go to File, Document, Setup, I could have this set up for bleeds. And bleeds are basically, it's good to do like 0.125 all around. That's good for anything that is going to bleed off printing wise, so that you don't have any weird white gaps if the printer were to shift the paper. So the bleed would be pulled out to this red area. Your trim edge would be, this is where they would trim it, your actual table tent. And I'm going to do a Command D, and I'm going to find that cutting board texture. And it looks like I have to refit this, and I can probably rotate it too, but I'm just going to fit it like that. And then don't forget, it's on the top layer, so I have to send it to back. Now it might not work with the white logo, it's a little hard to see, but the other ones are actually not too bad. So you can actually use maybe something like this as a texture background, and then go ahead and start your table tent. Keep it simple, don't have the logo too large. Make sure the logo is readable. Don't have it too small. You don't have to have it at the top. Really kind of play around with your grid and how you kind of want to align certain things. Use your guides to help with alignment. If you use images on here, I would say don't go more than 3, and make sure that they're all the same size in the frame box that you're using. You could just use one image. You can just keep it as simple as this and just maybe state, it could even be a really neat little quote. It doesn't even have to promote a drink or a menu item. It could be something like what they believe in, maybe from the brand manual. You could bring in a quote or something, or something that aligns it with their brand that they have in their brand manual. So it could be really simple. It could just be typography, really, having typography here rather than images. Just remember that anything that you put on here, you're gonna make sure that your menu going forward, you guys are gonna be creating your menu and also your trifold. You're gonna be using those same elements on those pieces. So it's important to kind of get this where you want it to be, set the mood, and then be aligned with the brand as well. So that when you go forward, you're gonna have to use some of those same elements. Maybe it's the texture in the background, whatever type fonts that you decide to use that you think align well with the brand is something that will carry on throughout your other pieces. As we kind of looked at in your discussions this week, other brands that are very successful in their brand identities for restaurants, restaurant items, they're all very cohesive. You can tell, even if they're apart from each other, it's from the same brand because they're very cohesive in some way. All right, so when you're done with this, again, just one side, you're going to just save it as your InDesign file. And then also, you can just go ahead and save this. I'm just going to save it to my desktop. Make sure you save it appropriately to the class name, number, and stuff, all that stuff. You're going to export it as a PDF. You could do smallest file, just as long as your image in here looks really good. It's a high-res image. You can choose smallest file and go ahead and save it to your desktop. Okay. So just to show you some examples from former students, I thought this would be good to show you guys too. One of the students did a double side here, so you'll see kind of something that you don't have to do, but this is the last time that I taught this class. These are examples that I pulled that I thought were pretty good. Some of the stuff in here may need changed a little bit, but you kind of get the idea. Like this one down here, this image is a little distorted. Make sure you're not distorting your images. Make sure that they are proportionate. Here is another one. And again, just, kind of keeping it simple. This is the one that's kind of showing the actual printer view of this. So it would be kind of folded in half. So really all that they needed to show was this part right here, because that's on one side. It's just duplicated on the other side. Here's another one. And here's another one. Again, this is duplicated. So it's the same page. This is nicely done. They're using the logo in the background kind of faded out in a transparent way. Just a really nice image on the top, and it really is a good presentation for a tabletop. You can tell the brand is definitely upscale, and it's modern and fresh and new. All right, well, I hope this helps. Sorry if this was a long video, but I really think that this will benefit a lot of you guys. So let me know if you have any questions going forward.